I'm trying to get my...
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, the Kindle Flash Sale, the sale does not last forever. I'm really sad to say that this is not, 365, kind of deal, or else it wouldn't be a sale. So you got to know that if you're going to be checking out these 50 plus books, you got to get to it by the end of today. And there is so much good content. In fact, I've got 4 of the authors with us today. There are 4 of 54 books that are available this past few days. We had 50 or so authors come together to lower their Kindle book price to 99 cents, or in some cases, $1.99. And more importantly than any of that, it's how we showed up to support each other and had a lot of fun doing it. It's a rare opportunity to discover new authors, pick up a slew of books for your TBR list. My TBR list is very full right now. And I'm like, oh, I'm not done shopping. I actually have a few more to check out. There's also just this cool idea of what's possible when authors are collaborating with each other as opposed to trying to do all of this on their own, which is a very solitary and kind of lonely experience that a lot of authors have after working so hard on their book. I've got these 4 panelists who are going to talk about their books and their thoughts on the Kindle Flash Sale. With me today, I've got Amy Climer, who wrote Deliberate Creative Teams: How to Lead for Innovative Results, a practical guide that helps leaders build team cultures that consistently generate creative ideas and turn them into meaningful, innovative outcomes. Also, David Newman, who wrote Market Eminence: 22 Strategies to Build a Bold Personal Brand, Become a Business Celebrity, and Drive Unstoppable Growth, a results-focused playbook that shows entrepreneurs how to stand out, build authority, and create consistent visibility that drives business growth. Stacey Larsen wrote Reframing the Leadership Dance: The Secret to Finding Your Rhythm as a People Leader, a thoughtful leadership guide that helps managers better understand team dynamics, strengthen relationships, and lead with greater confidence and ability. And Tissa Richards, who wrote Rethinking Resilience: Fueling Your Competitive Advantage through Strategic Adaptability, a forward-thinking guide that helps leaders move beyond traditional notions of resilience and use adaptability as a strategic advantage to navigate change and drive stronger performance. Please join me in welcoming Amy, David, Stacey, and Tissa. I have been really looking forward to this panel because it means it's the last day of the Kindle Flash Sale. I'm kidding. I was really looking forward to the 4 of you because you are all rock star authors. And I define that by you being purposeful and strategic about what you wanted your books to do, and then creating a plan to make that happen. And that is so key. I think a lot of authors are so kind of wishful thinking about this. And the first thing it has to start with is knowing your audience that you're writing for. So Amy, if you could just kick us off by briefly sharing, like, who do you have in mind as the ideal reader for the book you wrote? And welcome.
Thank you, Robbie. Yeah, great to be here. So I wrote Deliberate Creative Teams for leaders who want their teams to be more innovative, but maybe they don't quite know where to start. And the book presents a research-based process, a methodology the leaders can follow. And all the research says if you do this, your teams will be more innovative.
That's awesome. David, how about you?
I wrote my book for executives and entrepreneurs who want to stand out more sharply as far as differentiation and positioning, stop chasing, and instead flip the script on that and become the one that is chased.
One that is chased. Stacey, welcome. And who did you have in mind?
Hi, Robbie. I wrote Reframing the Leadership Dance for all the leaders out there who know what they're supposed to be doing. They know the best practices, but they're still seeing fire drills. They're still in reaction mode. They're frustrated with certain people on their team. And they really wish some of those people would step up, and everything they try isn't necessarily working all the time.
Yeah, it's like do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And you're like, let's try something new, a little bit different.
Got to figure out what's missing, right?
Yeah, what's missing here? Speaking of trying to stay, in your lane and do your best despite all the challenges, Tissa has a different way of coping maybe with some of that. I'd love to hear who you have in mind for your book.
Yeah, so I wrote my book for leaders and teams who are dealing with the inevitable disruption and uncertainty that we are all dealing with and are, I think, a little bit tired of being told, just be resilient, bounce back, just grind through. Because I think that is not a winning strategy. And clearly it hasn't worked for the decades that's been the definition of resilience. And I think what it does is it's such a broken definition that it makes us feel broken. And I think we just needed a different way of approaching it so that we can turn a lot of those challenges into opportunities and a muscle memory for how to not just grind through, but how to actually move from that reactive mode into something much more intentional. So you can deal with not just challenges, but you can also find opportunities in all that disruption.
Yeah, I have a few friends that talk about resilience, and it's been really interesting how the conversation seems to have really shifted away from like just bulldoze through, like
Yeah.
which is hard because there's been so much adversity in so many levels of our lives. I think a book like this is just really needed to help us think about a new way forward. And it's interesting because Amy, you're talking about creativity, and it's like this is a creative approach to a different problem. But Amy, you've been speaking on this topic for a long time. The book is a fairly recent addition to the ecosystem you've built. You know, how did you finally make the time? I feel like it probably could have happened at any point in the last 5 years, but maybe it couldn't have because literally you're busy doing your job of speaking on this topic.
Yeah. No, that's like exactly what was going through my head. I actually have been wanting to write this book since about 2016. Some of the research that I did, I finished then. It was part of my dissertation. And I tried, I started, I stopped. I had, various little vignettes written or pieces of the book written. And yeah, you know how it is, like life gets in the way. You're busy speaking, whatever. And then finally, I don't remember, maybe 2022 or 3 around there, I stumbled upon AJ Harper's book, Write a Must Read. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I need. And then I reached out to her and ended up working with her as part of, she has this pretty intensive coaching program that she guides nonfiction authors through writing good books. And that was, I think, another thing. I didn't want to write a book that, I know, Robbie, at least you've met people who have said like, oh yeah, I wrote a book, but don't read it. It's not that good. And I didn't want to be in that situation. So yeah, I had a great experience. She was kind of the catalyst for me that helped bring this to fruition.
Yeah, huge shout out to AJ Harper. I became aware of her because she was working with Mike Michalowicz, and I talk about Profit First, one of his books, all the time. It's one of the 3 books I recommend to newer entrepreneurs. And then she created this writing program. I got a chance to interview both of them recently on BizBook Pub Hub. So folks who want to go there can go check out on that podcast. Stacey, similarly, you have a business. You've been speaking on these topics. You have a particular audience that needs a book. This is your first book. How did you find your way forward? It feels like for Amy, finding the right resource, the right container, the right community to help make it happen and prioritize it amongst all the other stressors. How did you commit to the idea of there even being a book in the first place if you were just like humming along, right?
Yeah, I needed a mindset shift. I also, when I was doing my dissertation, that just tanked me, right? And writing again, it felt like, oh, I just can't even, right? But when I shifted and started thinking about leadership as a dance and talking to my clients about, as a leader, you're really only half the conversation. You're just starting the conversation. And then how do you have that conversation with other people? And then I started to look at my book as this is just me starting a conversation. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be amazing. It doesn't have to be the level of my dissertation. This can just be me getting my voice out into the world and connecting with people who would like that kind of style of having a conversation.
I feel like we need a space for like those recovering from getting their doctorate.
Right. Exactly.
I got a master's in social work, choosing not to get, thankfully that's considered the end degree, though some do continue to get a doctorate in that. But yeah, I actually had a real resistance to writing my first book because the academic writing was not my fun. I didn't enjoy that. And I felt paranoid the entire time that no thought was my own. And I mean, I had like a footnote for the conclusion. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know anything about this topic until I wrote a paper on it. So like none of this is mine. And I was so worried I was going to get called out as having like stolen someone's idea. And it was just this, So yeah, writing doesn't feel good. Tissa, you already had a book out there in the world, but then this idea was really becoming a bigger part of your business. Did you need a book though? I mean, you were known. You were already doing this work. Like, what's the you know what I mean? You already had author. Like, why write another book?
Yeah, and it's really funny because I have the next 3 already kind of in my mind ready. Like, and I moved this current one up based on what was happening in the sort of macroeconomic and business environment. I guess your question, why write another one? I mean, when you speak a lot, I think it's really natural to have a book, right? I mean, it just dovetails really well. And so it made sense. It had been 4 years, 3.5 years or so, 3 years. I don't even remember. 3 years. I can't remember since my last one. So the time was right. But I think it's really important to, you have to love the topic. You have to be willing to talk about it all the time for the next few years. And if you're not going to be so excited about it, then
so true.
What are you doing, right? Because I probably do this keynote 4 times a week, whether it's virtual or on a stage, and a workshop and a podcast. Like, if you are not loving it, don't put the book out in the world, because people want to talk to you about it. And so I know what the next one will be, and then I've got to figure out jockey the position of the next 2, because it's got to be the right time. The world has to be receptive to it, and your work has to dovetail with it too. So it was the right time. It made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I loved that I got to support you as you were coming out with the book and do the launch piece. And David, I got a chance to do that with you as well. David and I, we knew of each other. We were floating around a lot of the same circles. We're actually part of the same National Speakers Association chapter. But I think until recently, we weren't even like necessarily in the same space physically. Finally got to give him a hug and a high five recently. But you've written different kinds of books before, and then this is a very different format. We've talked about this before. I likened it to Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones, which turned out to be the book you had been staring at and looking at while writing this. And I think it's an interesting style. And I know, Stacey, when you and I first met, like, you were really on the idea of like a shorter book, like not sometimes these people like think they're going to write the one book and they have to write everything. And so you were like, I already have hundreds and thousands of pages. Like, I have the pages. What's different about how you approached this book? Is there anything you want to share about Market Eminence?
Yes, for sure. Well, and to your point that there are, different kinds of books for different kinds of purposes and different stages and phases of one's career. The 3 previous books, they were all sort of similar. It's the Do It series of books: Do It Marketing, Do It Speaking, Do It Selling, all big bricks, all, 50,000, 60,000 words. By the way, to all of our PhD, EDD people, for all of our doctors here, people sometimes say, well, do you have like an MBA in marketing? Do you have like references, footnotes? And I was like, no, I've written about 150,000 words on the world according to me. The world according to me, right? My experience, my expertise, my slants, my biases, my opinions. And if you find a fact in there somewhere, good for you. That's great. That's totally fantastic. But everything else is the world according to me. So with this book, I needed something much shorter. My goal was CEO gets on a plane in New York, flies to Chicago, has a copy of the book, opens the book, finishes the book, lands at the destination and says, get this guy on the phone. We need to bring him in, either for coaching or consulting or VIP days or what have you. So it is really, it's funny. It's 2 things, because people say that. They say, well, it's a client magnet book. And you can have 2 kinds of client magnet book. One that's a tease and forces the reader to hire the author. The other one gives it all away. The other one gives it all away. It says, here you go. Here's the playbook. Here's the exercises. Here's the resources. You can do it yourself, which they can, but knowing full well that about 95% either won't or choose not to, because they want professional guidance. They want outside validation. They want to write somebody a big check so that their internal team will actually listen to them. And so that's the kind of book that it is. It's a workbook. It's a playbook. It is incredibly practical. When I go on site to a client, we actually use the book as the roadmap for the day. And then it's not unusual for folks to raise their hand and go, hey, you're kind of giving it all. Like, we could have done this on our own. They say lovingly, sweetly. And I say, you could have, but interestingly, you didn't.
Yeah. And that's how you know that they're the right client. Yeah. Speaking of this, I'm also in the give it away camp. My last book, Launch Your Book, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Reviews That Drive Revenue, was written to share my launch strategies that people kept asking me about for my own books. And I did sweat on the details of that launch going well, because it was a book about launches. So I was a little stressed about how well that was going to do. And it did go well. It's still over 260 reviews right now. Yay. But Stacey, David, and Tissa all hired me. But Amy, you read my book and followed the plan? Or did you, or was this we had talked about it?
I don't think the book was out when I launched.
It wasn't out yet. Yeah. Your timing was before the book existed.
Yeah. I think I had talked with you and talked with other people within our circle of NSA.
The idea of reviews, because you did great. I mean, this is like, I want to say, in the world where most people are not paying close enough attention to reviews, 129 written reviews out of 136 ratings for you, Amy. And because your book came out before my book came out, I know, like, that feels exceptional, because most of the people were publishing without that being a thing. A lot of our friends in the National Speakers Association didn't have reviews as like one of their top 5 goals. And it was like very rare to see it happen. So
I think there was also a conversation in this group with AJ Harper. It was so that I was getting it from that side as well.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I was thinking. I'm going to give a shout out to everyone else here. Let's see. So Stacey, 86 reviews, 87 ratings. And, what I want to say about this is, like, Stacey and David are at different points in their career. So Stacey to get nearly 100 written reviews, I mean, that means that's like people really love what you do. I know that you said people hear your voice as they read the book, and they tell you that.
Absolutely. That's the thing I'm most proud of, is that's the top comment I'll get, is I can hear Stacey's voice in there, especially past clients who read it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Tissa, you've got 146 written reviews out of 151 ratings. Let's get her over to get 150 written reviews. Come on, she needs 4 more.
Yeah.
Everyone, do that. And then let's see, we've got David, 229 written reviews out of 237 ratings. So folks who don't know this, the ratings are the 1 through 5 stars, but 229 people took the time to actually write a review for him. And that happened pretty quickly. That's the remarkable part. So since you're all so savvy, how does the Kindle Flash Sale fit in to your marketing plan? David, can I come over to you, since you're like our marketing guy? You don't do things lightly, and you have thrown yourself wholeheartedly and in a fun-loving way, competitively into this. You and Amy are tying practically, you're like a statistical error away from each other in the top spot. So why is this Kindle Flash Sale like a piece of the puzzle for you?
This is so critically important. I wrote this blog like 15 years ago called Why Your Business Needs to Flop. And FLOP is an acronym for Feature and Leverage Other People. Feature and leverage other people. So one of my definition of an expert, or someone who has expertise, is someone who promotes other experts. I can't tell you, Robbie, how many times I'll hear from a client, we're thinking about doing some kind of campaign or email or get people onto a webinar. And their big fear is, David, I think my audience is tired of hearing from me. And I help them complete that statement. They're not tired of hearing from you. They are tired of hearing from you about you. Now, if you can point out other cool people, other cool experts. So my audience might have never heard, too bad for them, about Amy Climer or Tissa Richards or Stacey Larsen or Robbie Samuels. But I'll tell you, it's funny. The very first email I sent, and Robbie, I forwarded this to you, I got a response from one of my readers who bought my book, bought several other books, and said, by the way, how do I get my book into the next Kindle Flash sale? So you being the pointer outer of cool things, cool people, cool resources, that only elevates your expertise. So I am living my message of your business needs to flop, your author business, your expert business, your speaker business. Feature and leverage other people is what the Kindle Flash sale is all about.
I would never have thought of that acronym. Amy, what are your thoughts as the soon to be top person in the number of clicks on the leaderboard? Sorry.
Watch the blood pressure. You're good.
Well, it's sort of funny that David and I are neck and neck because I think David cares about this competition a lot. And I'm like, oh, what? What's going on?
Yeah, we definitely had to dissect what you did because you basically said it and then went to go MC an event and came back and that bird was cooked. It was doing really well.
That's exactly what happened. My assistant and I, we scheduled a couple of emails for the mailing list this week. And meanwhile, I was emceeing a conference in New York and completely engrossed in that. And I think I had a couple of posts out on LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. So I do feel like I could have maybe put a little more into it. But I don't know. I just tried to, the first email that I wrote, I think it was the first one I wrote about this sale. I just talked about like last year, I read a lot. And so last year I read 50 books and I turned 50. So it was kind of a fun. And the year before I was trying to read 50 books, but I only read 49 and I was 49. I was like, okay, well, maybe there's a thing here. Right. And I actually feel like it is sometimes a challenge when you read a lot to get books because I live in a small town. We have a pretty sort of a sad library. It's not the best. But anyway, I just feel like they can get expensive. So I was excited to share like, hey, check out all these cool books you can get for 99 cents. And I think kind of like David, like let's promote each other and lift each other up and all boats rise in high tide kind of thing.
But Amy, your content is way more valuable than 99 cents. I've actually heard this pushback. Why would I lower my price? What did you say?
Okay, sorry. Quick aside. I was this other person I know was promoting her book on LinkedIn, and it's like right in my space. I was like, oh, I really want to read this book, and she said, well, it'll be out in a month, but here's 2 other books of mine that I've written. One of them was $129 for the ebook. I was like, come on. I know what it takes to put together an ebook, and it's not worth $129 per person. It's like, well, I'm not going to read it. And it's just, I think that's the thing is that when you can make the price accessible, it doesn't need to be 99 cents all the time, but you're getting that content out into the world. And then kind of like David was saying, like, hey, maybe somebody reads this book and then says, hey, we need to bring you in. And so, I mean, that 99 cents was worth every, loss, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Because people actually then learn about your work. Stacey, what would you like to add about this?
Yeah, I'll just add another angle to this. I love the sharing. I love the reciprocity and learning different authors. I also think what doing this sale has helped me to do every single time I participate is to focus in on how am I aligning what I do and the offers that I have for people to participate in the world to the framework. It's really easy to just coach on autopilot or to offer courses that are not necessarily connected to each other. And I think, Tissa, you were saying this before, like if I align my leadership lab to the second step in my book, then people can go back and forth. And even though the course is over, they can go back to the book or they can get an introduction from the book and say, oh, this is good for me. I know I'll be great in this leadership lab. And then we can expand to other steps from there. And the message is more cohesive and sticky, right?
Yeah, and I know for you, Tissa, you're speaking, so the books are in bulk is a big piece of it. But if you do books in bulk and someone writes you a review, it's not a verified purchase review. So I'm curious, did you take advantage of this discount period to go back because you just launched your books? You have a bunch of people who probably said, "Yeah, I'll do it," and then not everyone does. Although I think you had a really high percentage.
I did. I had a really good percentage on that. I actually saw this as a different I saw it as a different ROI. And I think did we talk about this last week on the podcast, Robbie? I think. So something I'm really known for and that I really teach a lot of the people in my network is to very carefully curate your connections and I carve an hour out on my calendar every single day to do introductions for people. And there's a very intentional thing I do, which is every time I meet someone, it's okay, what are you looking to do? Who's two people I can introduce you to, and vice versa. And so my network becomes almost unwieldy large. And so a way that I saw this was to go and to become a touch point but as a gift as opposed to an ask. And so it's a really nice way. I mean, I'm very quirky in some ways. And so, how do you keep in touch in a very authentic and natural way with that many people? Sometimes you'll just get a text from me that says, I ate something and I thought of you, or I smelled something and I thought of you. That's me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. But this way was also just, hey, here's an opportunity. I think you might enjoy this, or share this with your team, or use this to give gifts to your team. But I did send it to my whole review team. But what was really interesting was the emails that came back. It was a lot, but it was also like, hey, we haven't caught up. Here's what's happening with me. What's happening with you? It became a very personal dialogue again. And so it wasn't about reviews. It was just so great to hear from you. This is really cool. I forwarded it to people. Some people did LinkedIn posts, but it was, again, that personal connection. And I always say to people, if you're looking for a way to just keep nurturing your network, find an article, find something you can share with people. And this was like a way of not just sharing, but saying, it's kind of a gift, right? Here's a really cool way to go and use it for yourself or share it with other people. So to me, there was a really big ROI on that, not for me, but for the bigger network cascade effect too.
Well, and it is for you because it positions you as that like thoughtful, caring connector who introduces them to cool things and gets them, access to information or people. I love that.
Or just a catch up. Yeah, just a touch point.
Yeah, I saw a few people, the authors who were writing like these 1-sentence reactions to books that they had read or skimmed because they just got them, but they were like, I had to like pick this book up just to see what it was about, and I thought I was going to put it down, but oh my god, this is a great. Here's who it would be good for, and they like wrote like these longer posts that were 4 or 5 books, but saying, here's my initial reaction to this book. And who I think would get it, who would really appreciate it. I also saw people highlighting just like one book that wasn't theirs, just making a really big deal about one book. David, you were the beneficiary of one of those posts.
I was. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's like I like those posts, but I think the people who are being creative, like what you're saying, Tissa, and like offering to highlight other people. I particularly thought it was cool when people took books that were in a similar vein, like someone. Daria Rudnick, she's made a lot of graphics. She did one that was like 5 books for that should be on every leader's desk.
Yeah.
And she like made a graphic of the 5 books sitting on the leader's desk and then like talked about why she think these books. And of course, one of them was hers. One other person did something about like books. Maybe David, you made this like books that for writing a book.
Yes,
yeah,
totally.
What you need to do to write a book.
Books for business authors.
Yeah, so I think it's really creative, and Amy, that's been one of the fun things. I know, like you have a really creative spend. I would not put creativity at the top of my like skills. That's just not how I think of what I do. I like the fact that I get to tinker with things, and there might be a creative streak in that. It might just be a block that I'm not thinking of it that way. But when I create a play space, that's what it feels like. It feels like I was like, here's the sandbox and here's a bunch of tools. And I'm like logistically just making sure everyone has access to like enough, and that like, then I'm like, get out of the way and see what people do.
Yeah.
I don't know, Amy, like it feels surprising, but it shouldn't be. But like people are taking me up on it.
Yeah, which is perfect. You kind of, like you said, you've set up the sandbox, and the way I define creativity is, which it feels like that people are exhibiting this really well, is creativity is novelty that is valuable. And that's it. It's basically you're just solving problems in new ways, right? And so they're creating these novel posts or these novel perspectives that are valuable to readers and people who, to other authors or whoever. That's it. And I think, Robbie, you did a great job with that. Like even putting together this flash sale, I'm sure other people do it. I don't know, but I haven't seen it. And
I couldn't believe the name was available. Like we first started doing this 2 weeks before Black Friday in 23, I walked out of an NSA Philadelphia chapter meeting all fired up about something unrelated. It was about LinkedIn, actually. I just like I was just like in a really creative moment, and I was doing a voice note to my assistant. I have never done that since then. Like definitely there was like a moment came over me, and while I was leaving the note, I had this like, we're 2 weeks away from Black Friday. We should do, and I just like decided it had to happen. It was a build the plane while flying it moment.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which in some ways leads to a lot of creativity. A
Totally
lot of duct
does.
tape, a lot of popsicle sticks.
Yeah, a lot of duct tape.
A lot of like, don't look too closely. But you all have really stepped up.
Refining it, right? And here we are,
It's
what, 3
constantly
years
being
later.
refined.
Yeah,
It's not done. I
It's so
tried
cool.
something AI this time. This is a little behind the scenes because David mentioned this is a behind the scenes session. I tried a help desk that was a AI tool using Notebook LM, which I had never used before. And I just uploaded all the information in there. And I will say, I don't know how many of your like the authors are actually using it. The number of simple to answer questions have dropped dramatically in my inbox. Like people are still sending me a question, but it's the kind of thing that wasn't well addressed. And then I've tried to then add to the content that's in the help desk. But that was an experiment. Like I was like, I have no idea how this is gonna work. But it's like if it lowers one person's angst about doing things right, because you all are pretty on the more experienced side of like running a business and having your marketing plans. But we also have people in here who are like, I wrote a book and now suddenly I have to market the book and I don't know.
And they need David's book to help them market their book.
Yeah, they feel really like I don't know how to make a plan. And then so I think it's just like, okay, let's play with this. I see Laura Beer in the comment saying that she used the Kindle Flash Sale help desk. So yay for authors tuning in. Well, friends, this has been wonderful, and I'm so grateful for your support and your just enthusiasm for this. We'll be back doing this again in July, and then again for Cyber Monday, and it's just something I'm committed to doing. I want more authors to have access to these kinds of spaces because it's the author community, like even more than the sale. It's the way people come together that's really touches me. It's like amazing to see that, especially in a space where a lot of us are just in our own lane, in our own business, doing our own thing, writing the next 3 books or whatever Tissa's doing, making it happen. So everyone, like, definitely go to kindleflashsale.com, check out all these books. Remember, the sale ends tonight, so don't miss it. Friends at the panel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Robbie.